life story like Black Rob drinking OE. That brolic shit broken down like Matt Hardy. See through these eyes and people my mind see. It's fucked up, ain't it? No need to remind me.
Welcome.
We're back with Ep.4 of Culture Corner Wrestling. Got me, the host, Brad Bailey, Sha-Elemental, the other host, and our third host couldn't be with us tonight, King Charisma, but we're gonna do it, so let's just go. Sha, how you doing, my man?
I can't complain, man. You know, just living the life, trying to work on music, try to keep up with all this wrestling that's been on. You know.
Yeah, I know it's starting to ramp up, so that's a good thing. But Friday the 13th, Bo Faat, Sha-Elemental drops new single, Osama Monologues. Go listen to that shit. Friday the 13th coming up. But it'll be the same day we dropping this. So listen to that shit. But all right, man. Yeah.
Bump that.
Would you? Hell yeah, bump it. But yeah, like you said, there's been a lot of wrestling going on, and last week we were strictly WWE for the most part. So we're gonna flip that coin and we're gonna go the opposite direction and do an AEW episode. And the biggest news in AEW right now is Mr. Adam Copeland jumping ship. I mean, it wasn't a surprise, but everyone kind of knew it was gonna happen. But it was a pretty big deal, I think. You know, he's never been with any other company. So yeah, let's jump right in. Get your thoughts.
Yeah, man, I think it's dope. I mean, he was with WWE for 25 years, I think it was. You could kind of tell they didn't really have much left they wanted to do with him. I think he pretty much got to wrestle who he wanted to wrestle on this last run, for the most part that he wanted to. So it just makes sense for everybody involved, honestly, even for WWE. I mean, if they're not going to use him for anything substantial, I mean, don't waste his time and let him do what he wants to do, which is what he's doing. And it gives us an opportunity to see him go and work with, in my opinion, the best working heel in the business right now, his boy Christian. That man's on fire right now. Like the stuff this guy says, I'm just like wow, like just keeps pushing the bar. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, dude, you couldn't get away with it anywhere else. With it anywhere else. There's no way.
No, and if he did, it wouldn't be any place where we'd even really be aware of it, most likely. So I mean, like, it wouldn't be hitting like it is for sure. But I mean, I think it's kind of a perfect time for it's so weird for me to say Adam Copeland. It's so used to saying Edge for so long, but yeah, it's like a perfect time for him to kind of come in and kind of like integrate himself into that story and just kind of see where it goes. At some point, I'd like to see them back as a tag team and, you know, give it a run there, see them against FTR and the Acclaimed and like all these other younger tag teams that they got over there. I'm personally pretty hyped for it. I wasn't like when Edge came back, I thought it was cool to WWE. But like kind of once the first, like, you know, that first moment of it kind of subsided, it was like, you notice they were, at least me, it didn't feel like they were really doing much with him. They just kind of were all right.
Yeah, he was only contracted for 10 matches a year. So it's like they couldn't really do much with him. They could have changed that, but they weren't going to. Because, you know, Vince is with his contracts. He likes to keep nice, tight leash on his contracts. But yeah, going back to Edge and Christian, I was really hoping he was going to come in and shock everybody and heal it up and just join Christian. I was really hoping that would have happened right off the rip, and then they could have went the other way with it and turned him face eventually in like 3 to 6 months. But it was a good pull that they definitely a good pull in the right time because everything's become a little stale in the past couple months. You know, every storyline has gotten a little stale. So, but
yeah, definitely. And you kind of want to me personally, I want to see Christian kind of get his shine by himself also, which he's definitely been doing. I mean, you know, once it became pretty evident that he was the best heel to me going right now. Once MJF turned face, it was kind of like, oh wow, this guy is the only guy who's really like pushing that line. I mean, he's telling people like their dead dad and stuff like it.
Right.
Like this the places he's going is just like insane to me, and it's great because he's such a swarmy prick when he does this stuff. It's like in real life, I'd probably hate the guy, but in a professional wrestling sense, you can't help but love him because he just makes you want to punch him in the face so bad.
Right, he is a perfect heel. They said, I wonder if after the first couple of times with his first couple of feuds, and they noticed that everybody that he was in a feud with had a dead father, they must have started asking around, like, "Hey, who's got a dead dad around here?" So they could just keep it going. And they must have done that, because there's no way that was a coincidence. It was like 5 feuds running. They're all dead fathers. Come on now. But yeah, Christian's killing it for sure. They kind of struck up. They struck gold when they brought Christian, Bryan Danielson, now Edge back. The only one that they really missed with was Punk, and that's his own fault.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way too. It's like the more things kind of settle in, it's like it really just seems like it was a clash of personalities where, and I can relate because I'm kind of like, I can be like that in a way where, like, if I'm like, no, this is what I believe and this is truly like what I'm about, like, you're not going to get me to like bend too much on certain things. So it can be perceived as, hard to work with in some cases.
Right.
So I can kind of relate. But at a certain point, it's like when something keeps happening and he is the common denominator, you got to start wondering, like, who really is the root of the issue here? I wasn't there, so I don't know. And from everything I read, I would kind of lean towards agreeing with like the Punk side's train of thought about how they want to do things and such. Like, my thoughts always were, like, if I was to be a professional wrestler, there's a lot of stuff I just would absolutely not ever do. Like, you probably not going to get to stink face me, or like, we're not going to do the whole corny, let's stand in the middle of the ring and just punch each other in the face repeatedly until one of us falls over. Like, that type of stuff to me would be kind of like, all right, I want this to like seem like it's like, I want to make it so you can suspend disbelief, not where you're going to be like, all right, this is bullshit. Like, so I can kind of see why, the whole thing with Jungle Boy and like, just the way it seemed like people didn't want to take advice and all that kind of thing. I could see how that would rub him the wrong way. Like, he's a traditionalist when it comes to that type of thing. So
Exactly. It's like I watched the match last night. It was Kingston versus Marinoku Suzuki from Japan, and I can't stand when Kingston does that chop 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 chop. It's like, come on, man. They done it. I think he did it 4 times in a row. It's like, you don't wonder why people are tuning off these type of matches. But some matches are really like, I'm looking forward to Jay White and MJF. That's going to be good.
Yeah, that'll definitely be good. Jay White's really good too. It's nice to see him being able to expand his character at this point, because I feel like a lot of us knew of him, but even because he was in New Japan for a lot of like his most biggest moments, I feel like you didn't get to see as much of his character and personality and what he can do on the mic. You saw it, but only in spurts because it was Japan. So I think it's cool that he's getting to shine a little bit and seeing him in the main event. And that's kind of what you want to do too, is you want to build these guys you're bringing in to make them main event players. They don't all have to win the championship right away, but like, you want to make them a threat, because you don't want to have like pretty much any time in WWE when Brock Lesnar is on one of his tears, like nobody's beating him for a while until something comes along that actually makes sense, which takes a little while usually. So it's good to have that, and you got to build guys up so that you have stars, because otherwise you don't have much at all. And then you don't want to replace people and let them walk and become a star somewhere else as well.
Exactly. One thing I've noticed that they've been doing is they kind of going the WCW route and relying on ex-WWF guys, WWE guys, I should say. And that's kind of the wrong route to go. They should be pushing their homegrown guys a lot harder than what they are now, because everybody they're bringing in, they're all legends and superstars and whatnot, but they need to start doing the JOBs and just letting these dudes walk all over them at some point. Let them get their story out that they want to tell within that first year, and then start making cards because they're not going to be there in 5 years. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they had Jericho did it for Hobbs the other night, so
Jericho's totally not selfish when it comes to that sort of thing too. So that's a good thing. And Edge isn't either. So Copeland, Cope. They kept calling him Cope. I'm like, oh my god.
I can't cope with that.
Yeah, I couldn't get with it. Cope.
But
like,
yeah, man,
Jesus.
It's like they got to build the stars. So like you want to keep like somebody like Copeland, Adam Copeland, coming in. You do want to present him at that, definitely at that level, because you want people to feel like if they go there, they're going to be treated like stars. Now, do you want to push him right into the championship picture? Probably not right away anyway. Bryan Danielson's a good example, but of how you probably are going to see Adam Copeland treated, where he's probably, I don't think we're going to see him wrestle every week, but it'll probably be every couple weeks or so, that type of thing. Hopefully he won't get injured, but that's the thing I'm looking forward to too, is having these guys like that come in and kind of clean things up a little bit. That's why it was interesting to hear that Bryan Danielson's kind of taking on a role behind the scenes a little bit to kind of take the lead, which is a good thing, because I think having people like him and Adam Copeland there and Christian and some of these older ex-WWE guys can help some of these guys turn down the risk factor a little bit. It's like these guys, when you're doing like 15 moonsaults in a match, it loses its like luster. It's like, I remember like I'd see Vader do one moonsault, a year.
It was like, oh my god. It was like, oh my god.
Yeah. And it's like, people will be like, oh, that's because he could only do one moonsault a year because he was so big. It's like, no, that's not why. It was storytelling. Like you don't always give the payoff like right away, or like you want to switch things up, but you don't want to. I don't know. It's like you want to make it scarce. It's almost like the lover theory or whatever it is, where it's like distance creates the love and makes it stronger. You know what I mean? So like, I don't want to see that stuff every single time at every single match, because then it's just like, all right, so now I'm here. I know what match I'm going to see almost every time now. So now it's like it's solely upon the story that the match is, telling to get it over. When I would want the balance of both, having it like, all right, I want the story to be really good, and I want the match to be the payoff for the story where it's really good as well and holds that same quality. I feel like a lot of the time that doesn't happen.
No, not at all. A lot of them have no story to them. They just go in and flip around and jump off this place or that place, break a leg, or dislocate a shoulder. And that's why there's so many injuries too. It's ridiculous how many people are going down constantly. Like Ray Phoenix dropping marks on his head. It was like, oof. You could just see it. Like, oh my god, you could have broke his neck right there, because I mean, the size difference just alone, he should have known that he was too low. He should have known that he was too low, but he dropped him. So I want to move on to Swerve Strickland, man. Swerve Strickland has been coming up, in my opinion. I think he's one of the next great heels in the business, and as a representation of hip hop, also, he does his own theme music. He's one of those dudes, and he's the most authentic representation in hip hop in professional wrestling ever, as a gimmick, I think. Because what did we have before that? We had John Cena doing his thing. Who else really? Public Enemy as a tag team. The other dude in WCW, PM News or whatever his name was. So,
No Limit Soldiers.
Yep.
But yeah, man, he's like it to me, just being somebody who's like so ingrained into hip hop and like it's in me, I can just tell when I watch him that like that's not he's not. I don't feel like he's trying to be something. I feel like that's just who he is.
It's what he
Whereas
is. Yeah,
most of the other hip hop, wrestling acts and stuff over the years have, to me, always seemed forced and very
exactly.
corny. Whereas him, it comes just across as authentic. And he, like you said, he actually does make hip hop music and stuff. So like, he's not a wrestler pretending to be a rapper and acting like a rapper. It's like, no, that's just he's being him. And that's the coolest part for me, because usually I'm so adverse to anything like hip hop themed with the wrestler because it's always corny and just like I'm like,
it's always
I
bad.
can't. Yeah, so
It's
like
always terrible.
I'm like, all right, cool. And he doesn't like come out and be like, yo, I'm a rapper and I wrestle. It's just like something you find out. He's not really like, jamming it down your throat or anything like that. Like he's not coming to the ring rapping like Max Caster. Who is entertaining when he does that, don't get me wrong. But
yeah, he's pretty good.
It just across is so authentic.
Yeah, he is. That's what I'm saying. And I'm glad that they're finally giving him a push. I think WWE really missed out. I mean, they built a damn faction around him, and then they released the guy. It's like, what are you doing? They built Hit Row for him. And I think that they didn't see the fact that he was so authentic, and they didn't want to just let him run, because they don't give that option to too many people, So
yeah, and with that too, that was at the time when it was really like almost like two different parts of the same company in WWE, because you had like Triple H at NXT, and then you had Vince's main roster. So like that was along the times of like when Sanity was like, would come to the main roster and Vince would just do nothing with them and then cut them.
Right. Everybody. He didn't know what to do with anyone except for Charlotte, really. And that jam her down everybody's throat, really.
Yeah, well, she's a Flair. I mean,
Yep, she gets what she wants. But yeah, Swerve, man, I think within the next couple years he'll definitely be AEW champion. I think once his contract up, he's going to be back in WWE most likely, because he said that's his dream job. He wants to go back if he had the opportunity. So I could see why, but if just as long as they give him a little more creative freedom. That's the one thing WWE needs to loosen the reins on, is the damn creative freedom. They give it to some guys, and then some people they just hold down, and you can see that it's just total trash. It sucks, and it sucks to watch all these talented dudes go to waste.
Yeah, I think a lot of it boils down to the roster sizes for both companies are huge. So like when you have that many people that you have on the roster, there's only so many opportunities. So it's like I would be happy with like things kind of splitting up, honestly, a little bit more than what they are now, and then doing like super shows or something like that. I don't know. So there's got to be a different way to do it. I mean, WWE already kind of does it, but they blur the line so much with the brand split that it's like it's almost not even there at this point. But if they stuck to that a little bit better, that'd be cool. Because I actually don't mind it when they have a roster this big with that much talent. And AEW at this point could do the same thing. But for AEW, I would like to see them do like straight up split AEW and Ring of Honor, but keep them completely separate rosters and give Ring of Honor, a good quality, give them the Saturday show, give them Collision or something, and have AEW on Wednesday and Friday or something like that. But treat it more like the frontline, federation, if you will. It seems like Ring of Honor is not an afterthought, but it's not looked at obviously on the same level as AEW or WWE, when they could get it closer to that.
It's not even looked at as like an NXT, which really that's what it should be. It should be that developmental brand. And to get all these young guys some TV time and all that. You're absolutely right. Move it to like Rampage, have like Ring of Honor Rampage. You know what I mean? Give them that,
Yeah.
and then then split their main roster between Dynamite and Collision because they got a huge ass roster too. This dude just keeps on throwing money at everybody. It's ridiculous. It's like it's good to the wrestlers though that they're making the most money that they've ever made in the history of wrestling. Get every damn dime because, like we said earlier, Mox could have lost his life in one little move that just went wrong. So get that money for sure. But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting paid is the number one priority at that point. It's like, but the people got to be realistic too. Like, if you're gonna take that money, also realize that there is a chance that like you may have to let go of the artistry aspect of it for a little while because that's the trade-off. It's like, all right, well, if they haven't got nothing for me, I'm still gonna get paid, but I'm not gonna be on TV. And a lot of these guys care more about being on TV and being a relevant professional wrestler than they maybe do about the money. So for those guys, that can be a hard thing to balance, I would think. Because it's
I'm sure. And speaking of money too, they're going to be making that deal with Max, with HBO Max, to be streamed by them. I think that's really going to happen. It's supposed to be 2024 that it's going to launch, and that's going to be some wild money being tossed around to everybody for rights and all this other bullshit, licensing and all that other crap that they go through. So these dudes are going to be making a lot of money. Eventually, I'm sure they're going to be wanting to make their own content for that also. So they have the roster size to do pretty much anything. They just need, like we've talked about behind the scenes, is their booking. It needs to get fixed. They need a booker. They need maybe a booking committee to rein everything in and keep everything streamlined and think about 6 months, a year down the line. Because you can tell that they fly by the seat of the pants on a lot of things. They have some long-term booking, but a lot of it's not. A lot of it's just, hey, it's this person versus this person.
Yeah, definitely. And you got to have a balance with that too. It's like you want to think about a year, 2 years out, but also be able to pivot on the fly to take advantage of things that get hot real quick. I mean, that's one thing I think WWE's gotten criticized a lot for is they don't pivot quick enough to take advantage of things. But I think in their case with like the LA Knight situation, they're doing a really good job this time of really pivoting away from like how it seemed like Vince didn't see anything in him, and now they're like, all right, no, people love him, let's go with it. And they're steaming them up and stuff like that. So it seems like now that Vince is kind of out of the picture, they're kind of starting to operate in more of the Triple H vein, which is good. Very good news for fans. Probably wrestlers themselves and the company as a whole. Will it be good news for AEW? I don't think so, probably. However, they do have the roster to be able to compete. Is just about the booking, making sure you got to have the storylines that make people want to watch. If you don't have that, then you're done.
Yeah.
Basically, at a certain point, you're just throwing away money, throwing it on a wall. I see a lot of criticism of them for like attendance and ratings and stuff like that, but certain things you got to look at in context. Like for instance, when people talk the Collision ratings, it's like, all right, well, anything hovering from like 300,000 to 500,000 viewers on a Saturday night is pretty damn good because most people are not watching network television or cable television at that time on a Saturday. They're out doing something with their family, their friends, et cetera, et cetera. So
most people don't have it.
Like, yeah. So it does well for what night it's on and all things considered. But it's just, they definitely have some things to work on, but mainly would be booking so that you can have the most important thing to drive viewership, which is like the suspense and wanting to know what's going to happen next.
With the team that they have of veterans right now, if you were Tony Khan and you had to put a booking committee together of 5 people, who'd you pick?
Me, I'd put Bryan Danielson, Adam Copeland, Christian, Cage, probably Samoa Joe, and I'd probably round it out with MJF to get a younger guy in there, but somebody I trust and their ideas and that I know does things in a certain way. I think with those 5 guys right there, I mean, you'd have a solid foundation of how to do things and how to tell long-term stories and things like that. And there's
Can't
many other
argue with
people
that.
you could have involved, but I don't think he'd want to be involved just based on he's never really gotten involved in creative throughout his career. But there's even more guys really, Mark Henry. So yeah, I mean, they have the knowledge there to do it. It's just all about Tony Khan knowing what he's good at and doing that, and allowing people who are good at what they do to do what they do, and that can always be an issue. But I'm not there every day to see what's going on, so who knows?
Right. Who knows how he facilitates his work to other people? But yeah, he definitely needs. They need something to take them over that edge and give them to like a real competition with WWE across the whole world, because they're not there yet. And I mean, they're still young. Were they 5 years? But yeah, we're almost 5 years old, right? 2019.
They just celebrated the 4-year anniversary of Dynamite, but they were around a little bit before Dynamite came on TV, maybe like a few months. So we're almost at 5 years. But I mean, if they keep at it, they do have a lot of brand recognition now. I mean, they got the action figures in the stores, so people see the brand. It's on TNT and TBS. It seems like Warner Brothers is behind them. If they can get that streaming deal, I think that would be huge. And then they can do similar to the WWE model, where they can have, instead of having pay-per-views, they can have the premium live events, put those on Max. They can add a couple a year, go from, I think they used to have 4 big events, but now it's 6 with Wrestle Dream and I'm forgetting something else.
Right.
But I mean, I think they go to 8 of those a year. Don't go to 12 because monthly is too much for me. I like the storylines to kind of be a little bit longer, and that also allows you to switch things up where you can start a storyline a little bit earlier when you do have like a month or month and a half, 2 months, where if right off the bat you see that it's not catching on, you could drop it real quick and pivot to something else and still have everything lined up good for the paper or premium live. That's what I would like to see in a perfect world. And then put Ring of Honor, give them their own show or 2 on Max, and then have the AEW main roster, regular shows be Collision, Dynamite, and Rampage. Keep those on regular TV, and that's the perfect AEW world for me. And that's, I already subscribed to Max, so I wouldn't have to pay any extra money, basically. So it wouldn't really change much for me. I could see some people not liking having to like subscribe to something, but I think the value in it would be far outweigh whatever the negatives are, because if you're paying $16 a month, I mean, one of their pay-per-views is $50, $60 itself. So I would much rather pay the $15 a month and see every single pay-per-view and not miss any of the big shows. I mean, I know it was really cool when the WWE Network first came out, and it was like, oh, now I can just pay this each month and I get to watch every single pay-per-view. I'm like, this is dope.
Anything. Right.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be forced to go with the 12 a year model, because Max is going to want to try to have some sort of competition with Peacock. You know what I mean? Because they're all in competition with each other. So I think they're going to definitely go with the 12 a year model. They're going to have to. And I wonder if they're going to branch out like WWE did with like documentaries and behind the scenes type deals. I mean, they really should. Like, I don't know, they should take a lot of their YouTube stuff and try to build off of that. I'm sure being the elite, those fucking egomaniacs will give themselves a couple of different shows. So they'll be all over that. So what are your thoughts on the Bucks? I don't think we've ever talked about this.
So they're incredibly gifted athletes. I think they make good, just like Shawn Michaels type of heels. Like you just want to punch them in the face kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of their like match style per se, but I am impressed with what they can do. I just feel like they're not the style of professional wrestling that I personally like. I'm more of a fan of I can suspend disbelief, or at least try to, and somewhere in my mind pretend like this could be real. That's the best type of wrestling to me. So that's not really what they do, and I understand that, and it does have a place on a card. So I feel like there is a place for them. They do have their fans. I'm not necessarily one of them. I'm not necessarily a hater either. Um, I do see the benefit of having them. I just don't know how I personally, if I was booking, would really use them unless they were willing to do, my style, and then, whatever. I'm sure they could do whatever. But I mean, just as a fan watching, um, they're good. But their match style just isn't for me. It's all the flippy type stuff is cool when it's like done sparsely, like we were talking about earlier. Like for instance, the super kick stuff is just like, I'm not a fan of taking what was a finisher for somebody and just turning it into a spam move.
Right. And
Like if you're
using
gonna
it over and oh my God.
yeah, like I feel like people killed the power bomb, my
So
favorite
bad.
move ever. I feel like people killed the super kick. They're now in the process of trying to kill the tombstone. That's next to be like some, because I remember like when I was a kid, I mean, a regular pile driver was like done. You're done. Like, you get a
Yeah,
pile
it's
driver.
over. Yep.
So like
Right. Put
a
a
lot of
neck brace
stuff.
on him. Get the stretcher.
Yeah. So like I respect them for what they do. I think there's a place for it. It's just not necessarily for me.
Exactly. I agree with you because I'm the same way, man. It's like enough, they do it. If you can only do it so many times, you can only see it week after week before it becomes stale. They're not doing anything different. And now but they've also influenced a ton of people to do what they do. So now instead of seeing it one time, you're seeing it 8 times in a 2-hour span. It's like, come on, man. And you're right. They do have a place on the card. It's first match to get everybody hyped up to see the event, to get everybody going. And yeah, you want to see all that flippy stuff right off the bat. And all right, let's get serious after that. Jim Cornette's totally right about those kids. He really is. And I know a lot of people hate on him for his opinion about the Bucks and like Kenny Omega and shit like that. But he's right. He really, really is. And I think if they could work, or if he could work with them and to book AEW, I think he would be the perfect fit to try to almost whip everybody into shape and actually make sense of the whole entire show.
Yeah, but he's so controversial. There's no way. Because
I said if he could work with them, right?
yeah. And I guess Tony Khan did reach out to him when he was starting AEW up just to talk to him and get his thoughts on some stuff. And I believe he did ask him to come in, but he doesn't want to travel or anything to do that anymore. Which obviously at his age, who could blame him? But yeah, man, I listen to Jim Cornette all the time. I don't always agree with what he says, and sometimes he goes hard on people, which is half the fun. It's just hilarious when he does it.
Right.
Like, I don't take it that serious.
He's cutting a promo on him. That's what he's doing. He's cutting promos, and people don't really understand that because he knows he's in entertainment. That's why he's got the #1 and #4 podcasts in all of wrestling. He's got 2 of the top 5 podcasts. It's like he knows what he's doing. He knows controversy sells. He knows if he talks shit and he makes up fucking nicknames for all these dudes, and it spreads like wildfire on Twitter. He knows that he's going to start getting clicks, likes, and views, and that's what it's all about. He's not dumb. And I think a lot of people think because he's Southern, he doesn't like he's so far behind the times. And no, he's not. He's right there with it. He's just not going to subscribe to people's bullshit.
Yeah, and he just calls it like he sees it, and is like, no, fuck that. Don't care who you are. This is what I think. You don't like it? Tough shit. Like, kick rocks. I don't care. And it's I like when people like that. If you're not in a work setting like where you can't be like that, then it's hilarious. Like, I don't like, just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't mean that what they're saying can't be funny, or like they might not have some merit to it. And then when it's coming from somebody his stature and his time in the business and stuff like that, it's like you got to take a lot of that seriously. Like the whole Hangman Page controversy where he said, like, I don't really take advice from people and stuff like that. It's like, to me, that just sounds like a guy who thinks he's got it all figured out. And it's like, when you talk to even the older guys, where you just listen to the older guys talk, it's like they'll tell you that, like, they always are learning and building upon. That's why a wrestler's prime is probably from like 35 to 45 years old, because that's when mentally everything clicks and they can still physically do all the stuff. So it's like you got to have that. And don't be scared of Jim. He's just like that, that old grandpa yelling at the clouds. It's fine. He's harmless.
Right. He gets pissed off real easy, and he just starts yelling. He might slap you, but if you can move a little faster than he does, you're fine. You'll be all right. But all right, I want to get into a new segment that we've developed behind the scenes, and we want to fantasy book some stuff. And I know you said yours might be a little quick. Mine might be a little long-winded, but we're gonna go from Royal Rumble 2024, the Royal Rumble winner 2024, and take him to WrestleMania, and what feud, who's he gonna choose, yada yada. Obviously, we're gonna might have to add an elimination chamber to see what avenue that goes down, because we always have the Roman effect in play. So fantasy booking 101. Let's start it off. You want to go first?
Okay, so we're starting at the Rumble?
We're starting with the Rumble winner. Yep. Starting at the Rumble.
Okay. Are we booking both championship matches at Mania, or just Roman Reigns?
Just the Rumble winner. Nope, just the Rumble winner. Whoever you think the Rumble winner is going to choose.
All right. I think that at the Rumble, Jinder Mahal is going to win.
Really?
No, I'm playing. I wish Jinder Mahal was going to win, though. Honestly, I love me some Jinder. You can't hinder Jinder.
That's great. Can't let Jinder win.
Come on, man. Jinder was great. I don't care what anybody says. I loved his reign. It was just like, I don't know. There was something about it. I just absolutely loved it. I just loved how they took a guy who was like not really doing anything, and all of a sudden it was just like, nope, he's a freaking killer. He's killing everybody.
Right.
And then he just was cheating to beat everybody. It was great, in my opinion. But no, so
behind the scenes, they tried to market him to the Indian market, and it failed. So it kind of sucks on that end. That's kind of why I think they buried him too.
Maybe, but they should have known better, because everybody has Google and everybody can see that he's from Canada. So I mean, like, it's like, oh shit. But no,
anyway, I mean, go ahead.
Simple. So like, what I would do from my Mark perspective, I would have Kevin Owens win the Rumble and go on to beat Roman Reigns in the ultimate bit of revenge for handcuffing him and screwing him out of the title over a year and a half, 2 years ago. But no, I would do the most. I mean, you got to complete the story. So I would have Cody win the Rumble, and then in the meantime, if you're going to have Roman defend against anybody, I would say, because most likely Elimination Chamber, they're going to have Seth Rollins, whoever has that title, defend it in the actual chamber match. So I would probably have Roman do his one appearance in between and have a defense against LA Knight and kind of screw him over
Hmm.
to keep the title, then go to Mania, and I would have Cody complete the story, take out Roman once and for all, and then I would do one of two things after that. I would have LA Knight come out and somehow be there to congratulate Cody, but have him turn heel and take Cody out to set up a feud between them two moving forward, and have LA Knight go heel for a little while. Or more likely, because he's so hot as a babyface, I would probably do a program with Roman and LA Knight after Roman loses the title, and have LA Knight beat Roman and make the most out of how you've built up Roman with these couple of losses. Now you're making Cody, you're making LA Knight, and then you can have off of that, you can have LA Knight go after whoever's holding the heavyweight title on Raw. That's what I would do personally, because I think this would be after a long period of fans not getting what they want. It would be a good period of payoff, even if they only both had the titles at the same time for, like, say, 3 to 6 months. I personally, I'm not a fan of short title reigns on your first reign, though. So I don't know if you could have necessarily both of them go on long title reigns at the same time. But I'm sure there's a way to figure all that out. That's pretty much what I would do. I mean, Cody is so over as a babyface, it's ridiculous. And you don't want to let that go to waste. He's still getting that response. So I would take advantage of that. I think he's earned it. Same thing with LA Knight. He's always been good, even when he was Eli Drake in TNA. So that's where I would go. And then in the meantime, I would build up some of the, because you're going to need some top tier heels other than Roman Reigns, and even Roman Reigns is part-time. So that's the next thing to figure out. You'll have your Solo Sikoas. I'm sure he'll still be a heel. They got Bobby Lashley's a heel right now. I like him better as a heel personally. But yeah, man, they could build up a couple more heels. And I think that's the way to go personally. And that's what I would do.
Good booking. I'm going in the total opposite direction, actually. Like, we have nothing in common with what's going on here. I don't even have Cody in my booking. Cody's still tag team with Jay, chilling over there on the side. All right, so the Rumble, that we're going into the Rumble. Number 28, Cult of Personality hits. CM Punk comes out. He gets in the Rumble. Crowd is split. Half of them love him, half of them hate him. He's getting a lot more boos. And when he gets in the ring, you kind of tell, like, he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's got an attitude. He's CM Punk. He's being CM Punk. So he's being a bit of a dickhead. So final four, it's him, Knight, Priest, and Dominic. All right. Priest eliminates Dominic, just tosses him out, get rid of him. So that's going to eventually roll into the split of Judgment Day. So we got another branch going off there. Right after he eliminates Dominic, Priest is arguing with Rhea because she's on the outside, of course, playing her role. So where am I? All right, I had to write it down because it's so much, bro. Punk and Knight get together, throw Priest out. So it's just Punk and Knight left. Final two. They wrestle for a couple minutes, tease a couple of eliminations. They go over the top together. They pull the Hot Luga spot.
But they do it right
at the same time. Huh?
But they do it right this time?
Yeah, they do it right. Well, no, they do it just the hair off. That's what the officials are saying. When they hit it, they go to the instant replay. They're saying Knight hit first, just by a hair, So goes to the end of the Rumble. They get the camera on. Punk's running around the ring, acting like he won the championship already. He makes his decision right away. He looks right into the camera. He says, "Seth, I'm coming for you," because obviously Seth's been running his mouth in real life about Punk and kind of teasing that something happened. So he's all right. He's already picked up who he's going after. Night after the Rumble, they do their whole little deal that they do every night after the Rumble and have their confrontations and whatnot. But all of a sudden, LA Knight's music hits. He's all pissed off. He comes out. He thinks that he got screwed. He's like, something's going on here. He got screwed because CM Punk's back, and they don't want to see him shine because they're going to put another obstacle in his way. So we're building up LA Knight as that ultimate underdog. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
right. They both jump on Knight. They start attacking him. Rollins and Punk, they team up for that little bit. So they're rolling into WrestleMania. Every week there's some sort of confrontation, but every week LA Knight can't get that one up. He just can't do it. WrestleMania comes, it's a three-way for the what do they call it? The World Heavyweight Championship. Three-way for the World. Yeah, three-way for the World Heavyweight Championship, because on the other end, Roman, he's dealing with The Rock. They're gonna finish that story that way, head of the table. Who's the real head of the table? And I think they won't be for the championship. I think they might even hold out for Cody for longer and let him run through like tag teams and build him like for another maybe year and a half or so. So it'll be Rock Reigns. Rock will win. He's the new head of the table. But we're going back to LA Knight. So the match is 5 stars. If it was Meltzer, he'd be saying it was 9. You know what I mean? He'd finally give them some respect on some of their matches. And Knight's getting beat down. He's the underdog, bleeding, whatnot, getting messed up. We come to the finish. Rollins gets pedigreed on the announce table by Punk. Punk's like, I'm gonna pedigree this asshole right through the table. Takes him out. Gets back in the ring. Knight just out wrestles Punk to the end. It's a clean finish. No interference, no bullshit. Rollins is still passed out, neck broken, whatever angle they want to go with. He could be hurt, whatever. So they get him out of the way. And yeah, Knight slays the bad guy. He beats Punk. Hand raised, WrestleMania, fireworks go off, and he gets his respect because throughout the whole build, they're talking about how he's 42 years old and they're the same age and they've done this, that, and the third, and he ain't done shit. So that's what he's fighting for. He's fighting for his respect and being the underdog in WWE, like you said. Vince not seeing much in him sometimes and trying to push him down instead of pushing him up. So yeah, Knight wins for WrestleMania 40. That would be dope. That'd be almost like a Daniel Bryan type-esque rise of an underdog.
You mean Bryan Danielson?
Oh, whatever. When we talk in WWE universe, we call them by their WWE names. They're still owned under the universe.
That messed with me because I knew who he was before he went there, and then I was like, wait,
right.
Brian? And then it took me forever to get used to that. And then when he left and went to AEW, I was still like, and I had to flip it back, and it took me like a couple months. I'm like, God damn it! I'm like, why WWE?
Bro.
That's like, I don't know if you saw. This wasn't scheduled to be talked about, but I think it's funny. Brian Pillman Jr. is now going to be.
I was just thinking that. I was just going to say that.
Like, what? What? Why? Like, because you can't own the name Brian Pillman Jr. Now he's going to have this like other name, and like they explained why the first name Lexus because his sister Alexis who passed away, and his mother's last name is Knight from his stepdad. So he said he was like honoring him or whatever because that's who really raised him. But I don't know. I don't get it. Their whole like naming, own everything and like make sure nobody else makes money off of it except them. But it's just like business. It makes sense, but just in every other optic to me, it's just ridiculous. It's just dumb.
They do have certain exceptions. They do have certain exceptions when, like Jade Cargill, I believe her name is Jade Cargill, and they brought her in, and she's going to run under that name, and that's her name. She owns it. That's what wrestlers need to do if they want. They need to trademark their names, especially if they have a dope name. You know.
Yeah, and if you have the leverage, it seems, then you can keep your name, like AJ Styles did. Carl Anderson, like a bunch of these guys, like they were able to keep their Jade Cargill, like, and then there's others, Dragon Lee, So there's a few that were able to. It's weird. It's just got to be somewhere in the negotiation process, basically. But I just think it's a stupid Vincey type thing for them to keep doing, and then to do it to somebody like that. I mean, unless he was like, "No, I want to do this," I just don't get it. Because the
Jade
legacy.
Cargill, does she come in as a heel or a face?
I think she should come in as a heel because I think she's just a naturally good heel. I want to see her come in and just, I don't know, whoever the babyface champion is, if there is one, just come in and just terrorize them pretty much right off the bat. I think for me, I would pretty much push her right into the championship picture. Maybe even have her win a championship pretty quickly.
First night, I think her first match should be a championship win. It should be one of those debut right off the bat, take it from somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I
just come in and squash her too, whoever it is.
Yeah, I mean, you could even have. Well, Becky is only NXT champion right now. Who's
NXT? Yeah,
is Rhea, and then who's the other champion?
Io
Sky.
Yeah, you couldn't have her do it to Rhea. I think you'd have to do maybe Becky. Give her the NXT championship. Yeah, do it that way. It's still a championship and it's still pretty respected. Bring her in and just have her murder Becky, because you can't do Rhea and no one would care about Io if she did it to Io. So
yeah,
honestly,
you don't want Io either because where she's at now, because she's still coming up. Not that she hasn't been around forever, but like.
In America, she's coming up. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would probably be the way to go. Because you can give her the NXT title, because they've been blurring the lines there so much. She can show up on NXT every once in a while, and she doesn't have to be there every week with it. She can be on the main roster and then eventually lose to somebody on NXT, but just continue on the main roster from there.
Right.
Because she's definitely main roster material right off the bat. Like, I don't know what the hell that outfit they had her in was when she pulled up at Fastlane, but she looked like something from the Jetsons, just a little bit more revealing.
Right, it's how she does, man. It's always like some sort of nothing duct tape going on situation. That's how they do. But all right, we're coming to the end of the episode, my brother, and I want to get your final thoughts on the past couple weeks of wrestling.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm loving it right now. This whole period, I'm not. Even though I was around for the Monday Night Wars, I'm really not a fan of the tribalism, the whole like back and forth between the two. I personally just want good wrestling, and I feel like right now, I'm getting that. WWE is improving. I'm still kind of harsh on them. There's still a lot they could do better, but they are doing more to keep me interested. Am I watching, religiously? No, but I'm still always keeping tabs. And then when I know something big's coming, I'm going to make time for it. AEW has been killing it as far as like in-ring product to me. Lately, it seems like they've been cutting down on the injuries a little bit, knock on wood. And their matches have been phenomenal. They've been doing the right matches. I think they just need to work on the storylines a little bit more. Obviously, the whole MJF and Adam Cole thing kind of got derailed a little bit with the injury, it seems like. But that maybe that's the worked a bit, and they're playing it up for story purposes. We'll see on that. But I am definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with this whole Adam Copeland Christian situation. I'm sure it's going to be great. The father figure that Christian Cage is, we all probably wish we had growing up. I feel like he has a lot to teach a young man. But in all seriousness, the guy's been killing it. So I'm really looking forward to that, and just, all the great wrestling. I mean, there's just so much of it right now. You really, to complain is like you're looking to complain, which we have to do because this is what, we critique wrestling and whatnot. So, it is what it is. But it's just a great period to be a wrestling fan right now. You got so many options. just if we could kill the tribalism stuff and then just enjoy what you enjoy, because I like stuff from both shows, all of it, you know. So no point in getting all tribalistic with it and whatnot, treating it like it's a political debate or anything. Just like the wrestling you like.
That's like it's like any other. It's like any sport, really. It's like joining. You want to be rooting for your team, and you fucking hate the other team. So that's what it is, really. But yeah, you're right. It's been going pretty well. It was getting stale there for a point, a couple months back, maybe even like a month ago, and now it's starting to pick up again. And they're starting both, like you said, both companies are starting to have direction in what they're gonna do. And it does suck that WWE could just release a bunch of people whenever they feel like it, and they do that lately, because so you always have that unknown with them, or what's going to happen with them and how they're going to change things. But hopefully, they said Vince is really out of creative control at this point, and he's only a boardroom guy. So hopefully that's true, and they'll keep him far away from anything that has to do with it, and then like keep Triple H and Shawn Michaels doing their thing, because Michaels actually has turned out to be a great booker. He's starting to know, like, really know what he's doing with NXT when they gave him the reins to actually change from that bullshit 2.0 version that they tried. So hopefully they keep it going. And yeah, we got a lot of good shit coming up. So a lot of good wrestling coming up, and we're going to be having a lot of good shit coming up on the Culture Corner too. We got all of our other shows, all of our other channels. Everybody knows, go like, share, subscribe, click all them links. I always say it, click all them links. But for me,
go bump my single Friday the 13th, Osama Monologues. You know, play it like 87,000 times on your phone, and I might get $50 back off of that. Thanks, big media streaming guys. You're awesome.
Is it going to be available? Is it available on Bandcamp?
I don't. It might be on Bo Faat's, honestly. I'm not sure. It probably is, most likely, because he usually puts his stuff up there. But check.
Right, yeah. So if it's on Bandcamp, we'll be sharing it everywhere. You'll see it if it's on Bandcamp. You know that. And the episode will be coming out the same day. So while you're watching the show, listen to the single. You know what I mean? Just keep looping it for the whole hour that you're watching the show, and there you go. You listen to it a bunch of times, for real. But yes, for my host, Sha-Elemental, I am Brad Bailey. We got Culture Corner Wrestling. Episode 4 is in the books. This was a good time, man. We got a lot in, and we'll be back at you in a couple of weeks. So, peace.
Peace, y'all.
He's going for the gorilla press. He did it. Oh, no, leave it. It's over.
My life story like Black Rob drinking OE. That brolic shit broken down like Matt Hardy. See through these eyes of people my mind see. It's fucked up, ain't it? No need to remind me, but let me get to it. The stupid